Hello and welcome to Youth in Sports, where every Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. we feature special guests from near and far. The program is sponsored by ATI Physical Therapy, providing certified athletic trainers to more than 30 area high schools and colleges. First State Orthopedics, the team taking care of Delaware with a commitment to excellence. And Wilmington University, where Youth in Sports is produced by the College of Technology's students and faculty. And now, from the studio at President Jack Barcelona's Wilmington University, your hosts for Youth in Sports, ALSSM Mr. Sports Medicine 2012, Dr. Michael Axe, UD and St. Elizabeth's own Dr. Joseph Strait, and co-founder of Youth in Sports, Mr. Walter Laudine.
Good evening and welcome to Youth in Sports. I'm actually flying solo tonight. Our other hosts are out of town, and I figured that I would get back to the roots of Youth in Sports here. And my daughter is I guess a cheerleader and a gymnastics person combined right now. And she is currently at Tri-State CheerNastics in Newcastle. And tonight I have on with me Andrew and Amy Huff, the co-owners of Tri-State CheerNastics, as well as the director of Power Tumbling and Trampoline Program, Brian Payne. So, guys, tell me this. How did this all start? How did Tri-State CheerNastics start?
Originally, when we started, my background being in gymnastics and Amy's background in cheerleading, we were actually coaching an all-star cheerleading team in Ellesmere. And the program had grown to a point where they were looking to set up another facility just for tumbling instruction. And at the time, when we were involved in cheerleading, if you were learning tumbling, you were either going to a gymnastics facility to learn being taught by gymnasts, or you were going to a cheerleading facility being taught by cheerleaders. And there's certainly differences when you talk about training athletes from cheerleaders to gymnasts, psychologically, you know, the way that they want to be trained, the way that they learn. So our focus was to start a program where we could do tumbling for cheerleaders. Set up specific stations just for that.
So Andrew, just tell us your background. How did you get into cheerleading and tumbling and gymnastics?
Sure. I actually did gymnastics when I was in 3rd grade, and I stayed with it through high school. When I got into high school, I was actually coaching little kids, boys and girls gymnastics, all of the events. And when I moved to the University of Delaware to do schooling for my education, I actually worked for a gymnastics facility. And instead of doing the cheerleading or the gymnastics side, they put me with the cheerleaders. So it kind of opened my doors to cheerleading.
What did you study at University of Delaware? I'm also a grad.
Yeah, my degree is exercise science, and I have a degree in exercise science, a coaching minor, and a strength and conditioning minor. So
how long? I mean, you're talking like almost 20 years of experience in this.
Yeah, I have been coaching for quite a while. I have to say that the staff that I've worked with and my mentors have really led me to where I am today, and you know, I wouldn't be where I am now without that help.
So you are the director of tumbling, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and your wife, Amy, here is also, she's the director of cheerleading.
That's correct.
Now tell me this, before we started tonight, I kind of asked you guys, how did this all come together as in a husband and wife, both who were active in cheerleading as well as gymnastics, came together to start this up?
Well, we were both coaching at another all-star program, and cheerleading is very busy and there's a lot involved with it. So in order to be it with someone, they need to understand that side of it. So we both had that mindset, and we understood the time that it takes, and both had a passion for it. So like Andrew was saying, there was a need for it in Delaware because nobody specifically focused on cheerleaders for tumbling. And like Andy said, it's a different style of tumbling. While you're still focusing on the technique, but gymnasts train, you know, 4 or 5 days a week. Cheerleaders practice 2 or 3 days a week, where it's divided between tumbling and cheerleading. So,
your background, I know a little bit about. You are a Wilmington U grad, correct?
Yes, I am.
Which is excellent. Tell me, how did you get into cheerleading? Did it start at a real young age? Did you do youth sports, or did you start in high school?
When I was in high school, cheerleading, all-star cheerleading was not invented just yet. I started cheering for my high school. When I graduated, then I came to Wilmington University, and I was a cheerleader here. Back in the beginnings of the program has really grown here since. Just won nationals.
Who was the coach at that time?
A couple different people. Oh my goodness, can't remember. But a couple different people. But I did that all throughout college and cheered here. And then while I was doing that, my sister's high school team needed a coach. So she begged me, and that's how I got into coaching. Through high school, I coached her high school for 5 years. Got into All-Stars and haven't looked back since. Love All-Stars. It's really high-paced, high energy, and just a totally different style of cheerleading than cheering on the sidelines for games.
So you both started relatively young in cheerleading and gymnastics, came together. You guys said earlier before we got on air that you guys weren't even married, and you started this up as co-owners of Tri-State CheerNastics. It's amazing that it brought you guys together. Do you have any children?
We do. We have a son, Noah, who's 5. He participates in cheerleading and tumbling as well. He's one of our tiniest ones. The ages for the gym start really at 3.5 with just tumbling. You can do cheerleading at 4, and then you can do cheerleading and tumbling all the way up through high school. So we have different programs, different ages, and different abilities.
And tell me this. I know that you guys own the business and you're there all the time, but do you guys have other jobs outside of that?
This is my primary job.
Okay.
Amy is a teacher outside of the facility.
Where are you a teacher?
Full-time teacher. Allaby Loss Elementary School in Appaquinimink School District.
Excellent.
First grade.
But this is a time commitment. That's one of the things that out there that other people have to understand is, I mean, this is your full-time job, but you're also doing this on the side, and you guys have a 5-year-old, and you're putting this together. How long has Tri-State been around?
Tri-State's been around for 9 years. It was actually a partnership between myself and another gentleman who I actually was able to buy out from the business a 1.5 years ago. Mm-hmm. So it is now just myself and Amy, and we run the facility. Our focus is really on the kids and trying to promote programs for athletics. Gymnastics and cheerleading is a great activity for off-season training, for a lot of different activities.
Well, I'm going to turn my attention to Brian Payne. He, like I said earlier, is the director of power tumbling and trampoline program. And my understanding is Brian's been in this business for almost 40 years?
That's correct.
So tell us about yourself, Brian.
I started as a springboard diver in high school and college.
Wow.
Well, I was originally a football player and wrestler, but when everybody grew and I didn't, the choices were limited when you're only 5'6" or 5'7". Springboard diving turned out to be quite an aptitude for me. I ended up getting 7 scholarships, competed internationally for the United States at a very early age, went to the State University of New York at Cortland, which has an outstanding physical education program. I had terrific mentors in middle school and high school in PE, and I knew that was the route I was going to go. When I graduated from Cortland State, I ended up opening a sports school in Maryland, and that sports school centered on acrobatic-related activities. It started with men's and women's artistic gymnastics, but because there was a swimming and diving club within a mile on either side of the club, we put a diving board in the gym. We recruited all the divers to do trampoline and competitive tumbling. That led to sports acrobatics, and then the phone started ringing with people asking that they needed to get a back handspring in 3 weeks. And I thought, well, that's really insane and unsafe. Who are you? And they were all cheerleaders. They were mothers of high school cheerleaders whose daughter needed a back handspring for tryouts, and I said, that's not normal, but sure, let's take a look. And that opened the door to a huge tumbling market for cheerleading.
I was going to say, my daughter, like I said earlier, is 5 years old, and we're not encouraging back hamstrings yet, but she's learning.
We'll teach the fundamentals.
Yeah, well, everything through progressions.
I think that's what a lot of this is that getting back, like I said, to our youth sports programs out there. We see Little League, we see wrestling now. There's a lot of different programs that are out there, but there's not a ton of cheerleading and gymnastics combined. Do you guys know of any other ones that are out there?
There are a couple of programs in the area. You can drive to get there. Being in this area, we're fortunate that we have Newark, Newcastle. We attract people from the New Jersey area, Maryland, as well as Pennsylvania. So we do have a lot of students that drive to us, and it's a specialty market. So they're going to come in, to do specific things. They're looking to learn how to do tumbling, as Brian said, for their cheerleading team. We have the all-star cheerleaders who participate in our programs, or we also train other people from other programs that come in looking for quality instruction.
Excellent. Let's get into some of your staff. I know that we weren't able to have them here because you guys are actually doing your competition months right now, and they're all actually coaching right now. Mm-hmm. So, but I do know my daughter's coach is actually a Wilmington University cheerleader right now. So where most of your staff come from?
We do have several Wilmington University cheerleaders that we've developed relationships with over the last 4 to 5 years. Some of them are getting ready to graduate. So we have other staff that we've known for 10 years plus. A lot of our core staff we've had since the gym started. So that's really nice that they've grown with the gym. And then just word of mouth, friends. My friend's a cheerleader. Bring them in, have them interview and train, and
well, I'm guessing that they do this as a second job. A lot of them, like what high school football coaches are doing. They have a full-time job and then come over and because of their love for the game and the sport.
Absolutely, and over the past couple of years, we've developed relationships with both Wilmington University cheerleading and the University of Delaware cheerleading.
Excellent.
We sponsor both of the programs for open gyms where the athletes can come in. They train, 1 or 2 nights a week. We don't charge them for the space or the time, but it gives them an opportunity to really perfect their skills because the national competitions that they compete in, and the facility is nice because the mats are always down. They don't have to worry about space, and it's always ready to use.
I was going to get to that your facilities are excellent. And I think a lot of parents out there that hear CheerNastic and gymnastics they think that you're going to be on high bars and a lot of different apparatuses where their children can get hurt. And I think that was my fear initially with my,
Sure.
I think she was 3 when she started there, 3 or 4. And when I went for my first time, I was like, okay, this is a lot better. There's cushions, there's things there. It's mostly trampolines and tumbling. So I was a little bit, I was a lot happier than what I thought initially when I signed up.
Sure. I think it's important to know that safety is obviously our most important goal. We do a lot of training with our staff. We have a very well-equipped facility with mats, skill shapes that the kids use, and we have an overseeing body that we follow, the United States All-Star Federation, which really limits the activity to specific abilities at each level. So, as Brian said, we follow a progression, before they move on to the next level.
Excellent. We're going to go to break in a few seconds here, but I'm going to go back to Brian. It's amazing you went from diving to tumbling and stuff, but we're going to get back to you when we come back. So we're going to take a break real quick, okay? We'll be right back to Youth in Sports in a couple seconds.
I will keep dancing on point, even if it hurts.
My arm is killing me. I don't know if I can pitch another ball. But I'll just play through the pain anyway.
I have to do the big stunts. To look better than the other cheerleaders, our tosses are bigger.
My elbow really aches, but I've got to eat better.
Don't tell them it hurts. They'll take you out of the game if you do. I have to push harder if I'm going to get a scholarship. I'm feeling dizzy, but I don't want to tell anyone.
Everyone's counting on me. I can't rest now.
Nearly 50% of all sports injuries sustained by middle and high school students are from overuse. Don't play through the pain. See your healthcare provider and follow their instructions for rest and recovery. Take the pledge. Become an advocate for sports safety. Visit stopsportsinjuries.org.
Go team!
Welcome back to Youth in Sports. We're here tonight with Tri-State CheerNastics with Amy and Andrew Huff, as well as Brian Payne. And as we were leaving the first session, I was trying to address Brian and finding out how he was able to go from diving to tumbling in gymnastics. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Again, you know, once you're in the air, a flip is a flip. Sometimes there's differences in the environment, the takeoff surface, landing surface, and so on. In springboard diving, you come down head first a lot of times. In apparatus gymnastics, you try not to do that. But there's a lot of common denominators between all the acrobatic-related activities.
And how is it teaching children to do that? It's got to be tough. I mean, I know from you guys teach from 4 to adult. I mean, pretty much through 18. Is that?
Some older.
Some older?
Depends. Mm-hmm.
How tough is it?
Well, it's not tough. It's a piece of cake if you have the correct attitude and if you understand progressions, pay attention to safety. I mean, looking at their facility, I walk in the door and it's a giant playground. It's a playground for acrobats and athletes. You get to fly through the air upside down. You get to go in all 3 directions, forwards, backwards, sideways. You get to train all the different shapes of gymnastics and apply that to cheerleading routines.
Amy, tell us about the different levels of competition, the levels that you have starting from, I guess, the youngest up to the oldest.
The nice thing about All-Star Cheerleading is there is a place for everybody, whether you are 17 years old and you're a brand new cheerleader or you are 3 years old and a brand new cheerleader. Every age group has levels 1 through 5. Except the younger grades don't, younger ages don't have up to 5. It's 1 through 4.
Can you explain that? Some of our viewers probably don't know what the levels are.
Level 1, you start with your basics. Stunts have to stay at a certain level. They can't get extended above the head unless you're braced by somebody on each side. Can't do back handsprings in level 1, but you're building back walkovers and transitioning into level 2, where you are allowed to do back handsprings. The stunts get a little harder. You can go a little higher without being braced by somebody. Level 3, you can start twisting in the air. When you do a basket toss where you throw the kids into the air.
Up in the air to catch them?
Yes, they can start doing a toe touch or a twist. In level 3 tumbling, you can do round off back handspring, back tuck. And then level 4 progressively gets harder.
It's just, that sounds great because there's not a lot of sports that do that, that put you in a level where it's almost safety driven, which is excellent. I mean, I remember playing football at 5 years old and you played tackle. I mean, you had a helmet, you had pads, and you hit everybody. There wasn't a difference in safety other than they kept your weight at a certain side, but that's excellent that they have that. So getting back to your groups, I know my daughter, like I said, is always in the little neutrons. She talks about it all the time, but can you tell everybody out there all the different levels you have, how it's, you know, kind of set aside for each level?
Every year varies depending on the group of kids that you have. We try to make up the team's majority of kids that have that level skill, but currently this year we have our little neutrons, which are tiny age, 3 to 5, and this year they're exhibition because they're introducing themselves to cheerleading, but they follow level 1 guidelines. We also have a mini team, which is ages 6 through 8. They're also level 1. We have about 20 kids on that team. Then we have a level 2 youth team that has 26 kids on it, and they're level 2. They just placed 3rd at a competition. It's a very tough competition this weekend, so they were points from first, so they were very excited about that. Then we have a senior 2 team, that level 2, and then we have a senior level 3 team. We also offer half-year programs, so if all-year commitment is too long, because full-year cheerleading, what I just mentioned, goes from June to May. They train in each section of the year is a different part of the season. Right now, you said we're in our competition season. We also have half-year. They go November through the beginning of March, and they do local competitions. They don't travel outside of Delaware. But if you have a kid that plays other sports throughout the year, can't make that commitment all year, they can do half-year.
Works better to be able to do 2 sports. We see that in a lot of our 2-sport athletes in baseball and football or wrestling or volleyball, softball. They go between different sports. That's excellent.
We have 2 of those teams this year, 2 half-year teams.
Tell us about, I'm directing it to you because you're the head of it, so tell us about the tumbling program.
The tumbling program is a gymnastics-based program, so again, as Brian said and Amy, with following the progression, you have to start out at a beginner level. There are certain expectations before you progress in difficulty, and safety being our #1 goal. We really are mindful about what the athletes are able to do, and we take into account what their goals are, and we try to put out a roadmap. This is where you're at. This is how you're going to get to your goal. And honesty is the best policy. As Brian said, some people come into the gym, I want a back handspring where it's jump from your feet to your hands to your feet in 3 weeks. And unfortunately, that's not a realistic expectation for most athletes.
It's not realistic for me to ever do so.
we have the training harness for that. However, with the trampolines and the foam pits that we have, the training harnesses that we have, and I have to say that our level of instructors that we have are all key to creating a very well-rounded athlete.
Tell me what walks in the door, and what I mean by that is are you getting people who want to do tumbling to get into gymnastics? Are you getting people who are doing tumbling as part of their cheerleading? Or are you getting, I've been in your gym and I've seen young men, 15, 16, doing some miraculous things that I never thought my body could do.
Yeah, we train just about anyone. Just recently for Martin Luther King Day, I had a flip and kick factory clinic for ATA martial arts. And these young men young men and women want to integrate tumbling into their karate routines. So we worked with martial arts students. We worked with, as Brian said, springboard divers who want to get extra training, just can't get the time in the pool on the diving board. If you want to come in just to take a tumbling class for fitness, we've done that as well.
Excellent. I'm coming back to you real quick because I've already been to one of the competitions for my daughter, but it was a showcase. Can you tell the people out there how does it work in cheerleading, and how, if they get their kid involved, is it a weekly thing? Is it a twice a week thing? Is it monthly? And how does it go?
As far as practice, it's 2 to 3 times a week, depending on the age level and of the team. And then competitions vary from month to month. This month, for example, our full year, most of our older full year teams have 2 competitions. February gets a little bit busier. March, we have some 2-day events that we actually travel for the weekend. And then we end in April with another 2-day event where we travel and you compete 2 days and they combine the score and see who has the top score after 2 performances. That's what we just went to this past weekend.
Gotcha. So the showcases that they have are actually for the parents, and that was an excellent program that you guys put on actually in Smyrna.
For our traveling teams, we actually do that first. Some family members may not be able to travel to some of the events that we host, so we want to provide something that's close, local, inexpensive. We don't charge anything except to cover the cost of what the event is. So we give them an opportunity to come down and see their friends and relatives.
It was great. It was packed. There was tons of people there. I guess it was grandparents and family members and things, but it was an excellent time. And I've always wanted to ask this one. You've been there for 9 years. You've been doing tumbling, cheerleading. Have any of your kids gone on to Olympics, to national championships, to any of that stuff?
Several of our kids have gone on to cheer in college. And then several also come back and work for us, so that's nice to have. But several of our kids have gone on to college and got scholarships and things, and that's what we tell the parents.
Mostly for cheerleading?
Long term. Yeah, mostly cheerleading.
I was just wondering if a lot of kids used it to go into gymnastics, like male gymnastics in college is relatively big in certain schools. Do you guys have anybody that's gone?
Not specifically, and actually, male gymnastics has taken a dive in the past 15 years. Title IX in college athletics really has limited how many men's sports are available. And one of the things that colleges have to be aware of is how many men's and women's activities there are, and they have to balance out. So unfortunately, men's gymnastics is not as prevalent as it was a few years ago. As Amy said, a lot of the athletes that have gone through our program, some of them do cheer in college, but really we're trying to create a good foundation for life and teaching the kids, responsibility, being on time, putting in hard work, and being committed.
I also think that one of the biggest things that at least my daughter's getting that, you know, I looked for, especially as she's 5 and she's starting to grow, is activity, exercise, and getting her in there and getting her moving around and jumping and bouncing and things like that. Because I think that some of us parents out there, we don't do a great job of making sure our kids get the best nutrition and diet, so having the exercise has been excellent. Other than cheerleading and gymnastics, what other programs do you guys offer there?
Our programs that we run are summer camp programs. We do specialty clinics for groups. We actually will do stunning classes for teams. We also do for the Girl Scouts programs. Anything that will get the kids in, as you said, to be active. It's important in today's society. Unfortunately, with as fast-paced and as busy as everyone is, you know, the NFL has Play 60 every day, and you know, we try to promote, you know, as much activity as possible.
And where can the parents out there find you guys? Where are you guys located?
We're located off of Churchman's Road, and Airport Road, back in a little industrial plaza on King Avenue.
And website, I'm pretty sure it's www.tristatecheernastics.com.
.com. No hyphenations, just spelled out.
And parents can just go there and search the website. It's an excellent website. They do fundraisers as well to help with supporting some of the programs that you guys do. It's an excellent place. I've been very happy. My wife is very happy, and so it's been a good thing. So tell me, what's your guys' plans to go further?
Well, initially we started with, as I said, just tumbling. When we were first opening, we had a small facility in South Wilmington on Rogers Road, and we were fortunate that this facility became open where we were able to expand into all-star cheerleading, which is the competitive side. Looking at my next 5 years with the business, you know, I really want to incorporate, you know, with Brian coming on board, power tumbling and trampoline, and have another outlet for athletes. And unfortunately, cheerleading has a stigma of being a all-women's sport. We're trying to incorporate things that have more men's.
We're going to come back to that in a couple seconds. We'll be right back.
What does opportunity mean to you? At Wilmington University, it means providing a personalized educational experience where students learn anywhere at any time. Wilmington University provides a variety of ways to complete your degree. Choose the flexibility of online learning, or attend classes during the day, in the evening, or on weekends at locations throughout the region. It's your degree. Choose how you earn it. Personalized education, affordable tuition. That's the difference at Wilmington University. What does opportunity mean to you? At Wilmington University, it means finding an innovative degree program that fits your goals and prepares you for a successful career. It means finding a school that fits your life. We know the importance of providing individual attention, affordable tuition, and unparalleled flexibility and service. Because at Wilmington University, it's not about meeting your expectations, it's about exceeding them. Personalized education, affordable tuition, that's the difference at Wilmington University.
Welcome back to Youth in Sports. Here again with Amy and Andrew Huff from Tri-State CheerNastics, as well as Brian Payne. As we were going to break, Andrew brought up one of the big things that I've always wondered about cheerleading / gymnastics, and it's always been the social stigma for males to be involved. Just kind of give us a little background behind, you know, male involvement in sports and how many you guys have, and, you know, some of that. Your thoughts on it?
Sure. When I grew up, I was probably one of maybe 3 men in gymnastics, and it was you know, it wasn't very prevalent where I grew up. But I stuck with it because I enjoyed it, and I love the sport of gymnastics and being able to tumble.
What made you enjoy it?
It's being able to set goals for yourself, pushing yourself, learning new skills, doing things that other people can't do. You know, walking on your hands in front of your third grade class.
Totally agree with that.
You know, so it was exciting to me, and getting into high school, cheerleading, you know, wasn't anywhere near on my mind. But the cheerleaders approached me because I could tumble, and they said, "We want you to be on our competition team." And I said, "Okay, sure." You know, it was whatever, but I was the only guy to do it. And while we were talking on break, it's depends on where you're at as far as how many guys really get into the sport. We're very fortunate in this area that the University of Delaware has a co-ed program. The Wilmington University cheerleading program is co-ed, and you know, they're able to demonstrate that men can do this type of activity.
So, Brian, I know we talked off air, but what is your thoughts on it? I mean, why do people have the stigma out there that, oh, men aren't supposed to be in cheerleading, and oh, you're a cheerleader, and what do you think's behind it, and how do we get past that? Because I think that this sport is actually just as we already know that female sports, the #1 injury in college level. So we know that it's tough. It takes an athlete and things like that. So what's your thoughts behind it as well?
Well, recently the USASF, United States All-Star Federation, had a task force that I participated in that had to do with public image of all-star sport cheerleading. Excellent. And the image of athletes in sport cheerleading. Acceptable uniforms, how much skin to show. Overuse of makeup, hair adornments, you know, proper athletic wear, and getting back to the image that it's an athletic participation activity rather than a Las Vegas type of show. So part of that was gathering some of the best minds in the country and saying, what do we do to improve our image so that we get more participation on both sides of the coin? You know, how should young men act? You know, what is appropriate for what they convey to the audience? As another example, getting back to the athleticism of throwing someone in the air and catching them over your head with one hand. Rapid fire tumbling all the way across from one end zone to another end zone during halftime shows at football games, as an example.
Exactly. I mean, we know now that the professional athletes are out there doing a lot of ballet and dance. I mean, a lot of them are involved in these sports for a lot of coordination, you know,
flexibility,
a lot
training.
Of flexibility
Absolutely.
things. And that's why I was going to ask, is there flexibility training with this, or what is part of the program for the tumbling and stuff?
When we do our classes, we separate, you know, the students by ability, so beginners with beginners, advanced with advanced, and they do have stretching and flexibility training as part of their fundamental class. The more flexible you are, the more mobile you are, the less, you know, you're going to suffer an injury when you participate.
We definitely, in medicine and orthopedics, we tell people all the time that yoga is one of the best things you can do, because just stretching out your muscles and making sure that you're flexible and limber is very important for just your normal active daily living things. So I'm agreeable with you there. I think that, you know, teaching kids how to be flexible and build strength over time by, you know, safely going through these progressions is excellent. I guess one of the biggest things that is also out there that I've been seeing is the risk of injury. Everybody's worried. I know I brought this up early, but everybody's worried about when you tumble and you cheerlead, there's this risk of injury. What's your guys' thoughts on it? I mean, you did it for how many years? What's the worst injury you had?
I've been very lucky. I had a bruised tailbone and a bloody lip and a broken nose. So. And
that's why, I mean, we put out there that I think a lot of people are scared. Parents are scared to let their kids do this because it's gymnastics. We see bad injuries, but I'm just guessing it's about the same as football and baseball and things like that. So.
I'm not sure on the statistics. I do understand, you know, the value of safety, and, you know, we try to limit as much risk as possible by following a proper progression. When you have an athlete that is so motivated to do a skill beyond their ability, it really takes a teacher to work with the student to make them realize the level that they're at and where they're going to get to. You can certainly get to where you're going very quickly, but how successful will you be over the long term is something to consider. If you're trying to get an immediate skill right away, will you be able to do it 6 months later? And we try to drill with the classes, specific skills that they do in a progression that lead up to the bigger picture. So if you are doing a long tumbling pass, we separate them into pieces and we try to teach, each
one step at a time.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. Well, parents out there, if you're thinking about cheerleading and gymnastics, the fear of your child getting injured, I don't feel is at any higher risk. My daughter's been there for 2 years. She's had no problems. And I haven't heard of anything significant happen over there, as being in the medical field. So I'm going to get to Brian again. Brian, you're on, I can't even count how many boards and lists and things. Can you tell me what's up and coming, or what's going on in the world of CheerNastics and tumbling, and from your lengthy resume here?
There has been great attention to the injury rate, how it can be reduced. Do we have to step back and take a look at what is happening nationwide as far as coaches' safety training, coaches' credentials? At what point does the government get involved with affecting what we're allowed to do for amateur sports? More symposiums, more national coaches' conferences, training, and paying attention to detail on that. Being on a spring floor that catapults you in the air has pros and cons. It's great to be up in the air high enough to do a double twisting skill. Have you done the core strength and preparation to land a double twisting skill, as an example? Recently, due to a rash of injuries that pulled the plug on part of the television coverage at World Championships, because of the number of injuries, because athletes were pushed too far too quickly to throw big tricks, one of the governing panels that works with amateur sports said, well, let's take a step back. What if we eliminated some, but not all, of the skills that are leading to great injuries, and see if the sport is still entertaining? What can we do to educate coaches? What can we do with young coaches that are so ambitious to pursue that gold medal that they are putting athletes at risk? And what can we do to change their attitude and their motivation? So it's an all-encompassing thing. The USASF is the governing body for sport cheerleading in the United States. At the World Championships in Orlando every year, we have athletes from 50 or 60 countries coming here and taking notes and looking at what they can do on the international stage to be more competitive, but not place the athlete at risk.
We'll go into certifications. You were talking about that. Starting with you, Amy, this is something that's very important out there, because anybody could go out and say, hey, I can teach tumbling, but certifications, tell me about how you guys go about getting them, and if you're certified and things like that.
We do first aid and CPR training.
Excellent.
There's another organization called ACA. It's safety progressions and things. There's certification you can get there. The USASF has credentialing for coaches. You can get credentialed at each level, so you know how to teach each skill at each level.
And that's level 1 through 5?
1 through 5,
okay.
Yes. But I mean, learning out there hands-on under a good coach or gym owner that has been in it for a while and knows the ins and outs of what they need to do, that's also helpful.
And I'm guessing you are certified, credentialed, and all that as well?
Yes.
All of you are?
We have requirements for all of our staff, and I think that it's important for parents especially to know that injuries do occur in every sport.
Definitely.
As I mentioned before, we limit the risk by following the progressions. As Brian mentioned, even at the world stage, some coaches are so motivated to place high on the rankings that they might possibly put athletes at risk. That's certainly not our goal. We do try to follow the progressions to make sure that everyone's safe.
No, I mean, there's nothing I've seen over there in my couple years that I've been there that would ever change my mind about what you're saying. I think you're right. I think it gets a bad stigma or the word out there that this sport is dangerous, but I think every sport is. I mean, we're in the process right now with concussions in football, and it started from the NFL and, you know, the hits to the head and stuff, and it's worked its way all through us making, you know, state laws about how kids are supposed to come back after they have head injuries. So I think that it's everywhere, and we're starting to become more cognizant of injuries, and it's nice that you guys, you know, go through a stepwise, you know, program to get your athletes and to a better situation so they're not put in that situation as well.
It's great to have, you know, relationships with organizations like yours. You know, obviously I would say the most common injury for us would probably be, you know, an ankle sprain, something similar to that. We really haven't had any catastrophic injuries that I would be concerned about. Mm-hmm. And, you know, again, following that progression to make sure that everyone's safe. And
I agree. I mean, and that's why, like I said, we kind of have those affiliations with guys that physical therapy and orthopedics, that you're going to have most of those problems with ankles and wrists and the normal things that everybody else gets, but avoiding the big ones like the neck injuries that happen in almost every sport out there. So, but if parents are out there watching and they have little ones like me, Tri-State CheerNastics is excellent. It's a great place. Again, www.tristatecheernastics.com. They're located in Newcastle, actually near, I say near the DMV. That's about the closest to Wawa in the DMV. But you know, we're going to get back to closing and hear some of what you guys' plans are, but we'll be back in a couple seconds. See you guys.
I know they never make me play with these guys, but why do they make me train like them?
Training hard is important, and for professional athletes, it's their job. But kids aren't professionals and shouldn't train at that level. Keep kids safe on the playing field and out of the operating room. Become an advocate for sports safety. Visit StopSportsInjuries.org.
Welcome back to Youth in Sports. We're here again with Tri-State CheerNastics, and while we were at break, we had a enlightening talk about how our youth have changed over time, and we talked about injuries and how maybe these sports, maybe the injuries that we had seen before we didn't see because of orthopedics and imaging and different things that we didn't have as readily to us at the time. And I want to get back to what you were talking about, because I like to hear your view on it. You kind of put it out there in break, so tell me what your feelings are about our youth and the need for gymnastics and how it helps with getting kids into something organized and exercise and things like that.
Well, if you look at the European models on physical education, tumbling is the foundation of a lot of their gross motor development, right side up and upside down. We're working on bilateral locomotor coordination with tumbling, and then you go into specific sports. Prior to massive budget cuts, tumbling used to be part of every curriculum for every elementary school in the United States. It's a shame that dollar signs are restricting our choices for children to have fun and to have enriching lives. We were talking about injuries and injury rates. Some of the leading statistics will show you that less than 50% of the children out there are participating, but the other 50% are overscheduled. They're doing 2, 3, 4 activities. I know that we see cheerleaders that are eating McDonald's in the back seat that are getting rushed from dance or soccer or some other organized activity. And, you know, that's another challenge. You know, we are victims to convenience. We're paying twice as much for cups of coffee, bags of French fries, and I can't mention any national labels of those places that provide food, but I had a certain type of meal the other day and I counted up that it was 63 grams of fat. Thank goodness I have an opportunity to work it off in most cases.
Well, that's one of our biggest problems, as we talked, is childhood obesity. And, you know, our children are getting bigger and bigger, and they're sitting in front of video games, computers, things like that, and they're not out doing the sports. I can tell you this, I don't remember a day before 6 or 7 o'clock at night that I wasn't outside. My parents said, go out, play sports. We played wiffle ball. We played different sports. I mean,
but it was safe to be outside.
It was. It was more safe, I should say. I mean, I think that, you know, now it's a little tough. Getting kids off the computers has been hard. So, and I say to you guys, I mean, it's great that you have this there for young boys and young girls to come in and use it as an exercise facility as well as a teaching and a place to meet new kids and to develop their skills.
Yeah, some of my lifelong friends I met in cheerleading, and that's what I, you know, talked to the kids and the parents about in the beginning of the season. You know, this is an activity for so many things, not just the athletic activity, but the social aspect. And I've seen so many kids that were shy, wouldn't talk to anybody, and they get out there on the all-star mat and they just open up, and their parents are like, I cannot believe this is my, you know, same little shy little child. But I know several kids that's happened to. It just, kids really find their niche and they just get into it and just love it and really develop their personality and become more outgoing, which is going to help you in the job area. And when you do interviews, if you can go out on that floor and do all those things for 2.5 minutes, you know, that helps your confidence grow, and you can job interviews and, you know, things like that come easier.
I'll tell you, it's funny, it does. I mean, my daughter gets to the point where now she goes up on stage, and we were at Klondike Kate's in Newark just recently, and she got up on the stage and was dancing in front of a whole bunch of people, and I think it does. It changes their interaction with others and their fear about being in front of people, and so that's excellent. And I'm a very big proponent of your place because of the friendships that are made. I think that that's one of the biggest things that I've noticed. My wife has made very good friends, 2 or 3 that she still hangs out with, that their kids are on my daughter's team my daughter's on your son's team. So, and I always say that my daughter goes there because she likes to hang out with the kids and do the activity. And I think that's one of the big things that you guys promote there is the social interaction with the kids as well as the parents.
Yes, I do tell the parents too in the beginning of the season, you know, look around, because these are parents that you're going to be spending all season with, sitting in the lobby watching, and, you know, we all want to work together and support our kids. So, you know, you're going to develop friendships just like the kids do. So some parents do love it for that.
I'm going to turn it over to you a little bit, because I know that you're trying to work to trying to get into some of the elementary and middle schools and things like that to promote awareness of the activities of cheerleading and gymnastics and what the benefits of the exercise can be on, you know, not just overweight kids, but just kids that are having poor nutrition and different things like that.
Sure. I'm actually looking at starting programs in preschools, churches, trying to get really the activity out to it. I feel that our facility is very well centrally located, but it's not convenient for everyone. So for me to be able to take mats and implements to other places and be able to work with students, it gives me an opportunity to extend my reach to people who may not be able to make it to our facility. As Brian said, childhood obesity being the #1 epidemic, trying to get the kids active, moving, and having fun, learning new skills.
It's excellent. Where to go from here is a good question. I mean, you guys have developed this in 9 years. It has grown from just tumbling to a all-star cheerleading place with tumbling and partial gymnastics. I guess you call it trampoline and power programs. But what's the future look for? I know that I asked this earlier, but are you looking to expand, or are you going to stay in one facility? I know that you're going to go out into the community and start putting out programs, but any other plans to do other things inside your facilities?
I would certainly love to be able to replicate what we do in another location. Again, being able to expand our reach to more students, more people in the community, provide more services for people who don't necessarily have the opportunity to do this type of activity.
Excellent. And how can the people out there, I mean, I know that I look around and every gym I go into, occasionally I see ATI banners who sponsors our show, as well as First Aid Orthopedic banners and different types of banners that donate and support an area. Do you guys have anybody, or are you looking, and how can people help you guys out to fulfill this need to our community?
Well, I think the biggest thing is the financial responsibility for the parents, and obviously this is an activity that costs money. We have bills to pay, instructors to pay, and while it's not the most expensive sport that you can do, it does have expense with it. The economy today may not be as well as it was 5 years ago, and I know some of our parents are feeling the struggle. To have sponsorships to help support those activities for students who may not be financially feasible would certainly be beneficial.
Yeah, and I know that the families are trying to do, I mean, different programs that you guys have set up, which was I just recently did, and trying to make enough money to support the facility, because I know that the uniforms, the outfits, which are amazingly beautiful, but especially on a 5-year-old, but I know that they're a big cost, and like that. There's a lot of support that you guys need out there. I just think that what you guys have done over the last 9 years is excellent. My family appreciates it. I know my daughter loves coming and being with you guys, and whatever we can do to help you guys build a bigger program, I'll help you in any way. Let's get back, because you were talking. I want to know how all this can be pulled together and it can actually be used in the schools. How can we get to the schools and help our kids in the community, programs at school, in PE class, and get them active?
Me or you? Okay. Well, you have still struggling with budget cuts in the public schools, but those public schools still offer aftercare for the children. They offer enrichment programs where possible. Their space are used by Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. The Hoffs have a warehouse of tumbling mats in their facility, and a lot of those pieces of equipment are portable. It would certainly be possible to be invited to come into the schools and do a weekly program. A lot of gymnastics has been taken out of the curriculums. They are highly trained. This is their field of expertise. If there's a bunch of kids in an elementary school that wish they could do a cartwheel or a handspring, they could bring it to them. Why is delivery pizza so successful? The product comes to the consumer.
It's excellent.
And we're in a location where they can reach a lot of kids in a short amount of time and get them excited about exercise and activity. And if they want to enhance that, come to Tri-State CheerNastics.
That, or we get out to the school districts, the superintendents, and try to put out there that, this may be something that can help in their physical education programs, and get the kids more active and into something that can build muscle and flexibility and strength and different things.
And confidence.
And it does. It brings it all together, and which is nice. So we're almost at the end of our show, and I'd like for you guys to go ahead and put out there how can we help, and how can people get to you, and it's your time.
I think it's important to note that this is the activity that we love. I've been coaching for almost 20 years. Amy's been coaching for
Same.
Same. Brian?
Since the last century.
So we have almost 80 years.
Combine both of us.
This is almost 80 years of experience in 3 people.
Yeah, and we certainly are looking to do it for the next 15 to 18 to 30 years. We enjoy what we do. We love working with kids, and to be able to get our information out to the parents, you know, to come see our facility for open house, for a free trial class, you know, call us, email us, visit our website. Our biggest advertisement is word of mouth.
Which is great. And for you, for cheerleading? Cheerleading coaches out there?
Well, we do a lot of local competitions, so come out and check us out. This Sunday we'll be at St. Mark's. The following Sunday will be Christiana High School, and the following at Dover High School. So 3 local opportunities to come see us. And we just have a lot of positive comments from our parents. They love our program and just enjoy their kids being with us.
Excellent. Well, parents out there, we're at the end of the show, and I just want you guys to be aware that if you have anybody between 5 and 18, get them in there. They do a great job. See you guys later.
What does opportunity mean to you? At Wilmington University, it means finding your relevance in the job market. That's why we offer career-oriented degree programs that meet employment needs in emerging fields. Dedicated professors bring their real-world experience into the classroom so you'll graduate with the tools you need to succeed on the job. It's your degree. Make it relevant to your career. Personalized education, affordable tuition. That's the difference at Wilmington University.
This show was sponsored by ATI, the company taking physical therapy to a higher level throughout the country. First State Orthopedics, where Youth in Sports hosts Drs. Straight and Axe are members of the team taking care of Delaware with a commitment to excellence. And President Jack Barcelona and his Wilmington University College of Technology, where each semester this student-run program is produced, directed, edited, and distributed under the guidance of the TV production faculty. Each guest receives a copy of the show, and all shows are available on the web at youthinsports.com.